Welcome to the August 2017 edition of Breck Buzz. This month, we are going to go into some of the town of Breckenridge insides, behind the scenes. And this month, we're going to be focusing on community development, otherwise known as planning. So with me, we've got a couple segments this time to let us know all about what's going on in community development. My name is Kim Dykstra. I'm the Communications Director for the town of Breckenridge. And with me this segment, I have Peter Grosich, who's our Director of Community Development, and Julia Puster, who is our Manager of Community Development and Planning. So, Peter, what does community development do?
That's a good question. So, as Kim mentioned, a lot of people think of us as the planning department, and that's accurate. So we have probably 6 or 7 core responsibilities that we do. Housing and childcare are 2 that we'll be getting to a little bit later in the segment in more detail. We also do development review in the building department. So development review is all about new real estate development and remodels and whatnot. And the building department is a pretty typical building department where they do plans review and they also do building inspections. And so coming out of the recession, we are experiencing really high levels of development activity, as you can imagine from seeing all the construction around town. And so a lot of that responsibility falls in our department. And then we have another whole section of the department that we call long-range planning. And in long-range planning, we do things like studies. So the gondola alignment study is an example of that you may have heard of, that went to the town council just a couple of weeks ago. And we were pretty heavily involved in the parking and transportation study that went to the council about a year ago, and then the parking structure study that the council just looked at this week. We also do plans, and so planning department, we do plans, and so the vision plan is one of those plans that we did, and it was done probably 10 or 12 years ago, and it formed the basis of a number of other plans that we did, such as the town comprehensive plan and the sustainable Breck plan. Mm-hmm. And we'll be getting to sustainability here in a little bit in this segment as well, talking about the 100% renewables effort. And then we are also staff liaison for a number of other entities, such as the Breck Heritage Alliance. And the Wildfire Council is one that we staff, and then we provide some staff support for open space and trails.
Great. So there is a lot of construction going on, as you mentioned, and so we've got Julia here to talk about what are some of those things that are going on. Lots of construction, sure. Lots of big buildings going up, and what role do you guys have, and what is going on? Because you start to see construction going up, and everybody wants to know what's the next new cool thing going on in Breckenridge.
Sure. The things that people are seeing right now being constructed are really up at the base of Peak 8. We have a lot of construction with the Grand Colorado lodges, and one of those buildings will be finished. It's currently under construction. It'll be finished in probably March of 2018, and that's 75 2-bedroom timeshare units and amenities associated with that. And there's a new restaurant up there, Robbie's Tavern too. And then that it'll be constructing right now is just breaking ground. We've got the Grand Colorado Peak 8 East building, which is just adjacent to that. It's going to be connected to the building that's under construction right now by a pedestrian bridge. And that's got 105 units, and those can do 2 and 4-bedroom lock-off units. And that's another timeshare project as well.
But that was all part of the Peak 8 base area master plan that was approved, maybe 12 years ago or so, 15 years ago?
Yes, and then there's been some modifications to it throughout the years. Correct. as market conditions change. And so we are kind of seeing that. There's still a remaining development piece up there on the what's known as the admin lot right now. So there will be, we don't have any plans in for that to review, but there is another piece up there that'll be a potential future development parcel. We've got another timeshare project too going on, and that's the Welk Resorts, and that's 123 units, and then it's got a separate conference center, and that is under construction right now as well. And that is actually on the north side of town, between the highway and the river, in a subdivision called the Shores. And so that just started construction recently. So we'll continue to see that under construction. Then we've got the Breckenridge Water Treatment Plant that will be coming online, that I know a lot of people have probably heard about.
And that's at the new roundabout, or the
It is.
roundabout is at Silver Shekel neighborhood area.
Yes, so that's the second water treatment plant, is what we've been calling that. And that's kind of a little campus of 4 buildings. One will be a large building that will house most everything, but then there are some smaller treatment buildings in there, and an admin office as well. So we will see that campus built out eventually too. That'll probably start in the spring of next year. And that is where, also a lot of people may know, that is where the Breck Bears store was previously, at the roundabout. We've got a couple of restaurants that people might want to know about as well, and that is, we just took through planning process. The Lincoln, we've been calling it the Lincoln Grill for now, and it's a vacant parcel that's between the Salt Creek Saloon and the Blue Front Bakery on Lincoln Avenue, and so that is actually going to start construction here probably within a couple of weeks. Then we have 2 restaurants on Ridge Street. One is a remodel called termed Legends, and that was the old Southridge Seafood Grill location, and that should probably be opening up probably before the winter, I would imagine, as well in that location. But then we also have a new restaurant, a new building being constructed at 209 South Ridge Street, and that will probably maybe finish up at sometime in the winter as well.
And that's been an empty lot.
That was a vacant lot, exactly.
Right.
Yep. So a couple new restaurants in town too, which will be great.
Great. And some of those are town projects, like for instance the water plant. And I know
Yes.
we did actually talk with James Phelps, our Director of Public Works, and he was on the show talking a little bit about that as well in a previous one. Now for longer range plans, what is the Planning Department, Community Development doing right now?
So right now we're undertaking a few larger code-related projects, and one is kind of an overhaul of the development code, and that is about a year-long process. We have a steering committee for that, and it's made up of a few staff members, some planning commissioners, and some local architects as well on that steering committee. And we periodically have been taking things to the overall Planning Commission and Town Council with updates on how we're doing on that. And it's not an overhaul in the fact that everything is changing. It's really just tweaking what we have. What we have, we think, really works well and has some really great results. So we're keeping our performance-based zoning, and we're just making modifications to update it, make sure everything's consistent. Is there anything, new that we can do to encourage what people like to see? So that's what we're really working on with that. We'll plan to get done with that probably end of this year or early next year.
Right.
And then we have a sign code overhaul as well.
Ooh.
So there was a Supreme Court ruling on a sign case that affected pretty much all sign codes throughout the country. And so we're not really changing substance of our sign code. Essentially, it'll be the same sign code that's been working for us for a very long time. But what we'll be doing is kind of reformatting it and rewording some of it so that it conforms to those federal regulations that have come down.
So I know that this has been one of the it's been kind of the buzz that people have talked about for many, many years is build out. What is build out, and are we there? When do we think we're going to get there?
Right, that's a good question. We're at about 80% residential build out, and we are about 85% of commercial build out. So what I kind of like to tell people is we are approaching, we still have quite a bit to go. And then we do definitely have some underutilized properties. So even as we approach build out and eventually reach build out, in theory, there's going to be a lot of redevelopment that happens. And with that redevelopment, people are going to make sure that their property values will be very high. And so people will want to make sure that they can have their density, their max density, and so we might see some additions. We'll probably see some reskins because people want to upkeep their buildings, which is great as well. But we really want to emphasize like the protection of the historic district and the Handbook of Design Standards. That really keeps in place our community character. And as Peter mentioned the vision plan earlier, the community character is really what we feel like people connect with, what we connect with as we lived here and what visitors connect with. So we really want to maintain that strength that we have in the historic district, which limits density in that core area, and also the design standards that we have to really keep it all together and functioning well.
Great. Wow, you guys are busy.
Yeah, never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment in the community development department. Okay, well, great. Well, next we're going to talk with the housing folks from the community development department. So we'll take a break and we will be right back to talk about workforce housing.